Hi, I'm Nico and welcome to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be painting another 3D printed model from Chimeric Collective. What you see here is one of their models called the Leviathan. So if you have not seen my last video yet, I painted a 3D printed model from Chimeric Collective as well, called the Nodachi. The Nodachi is 3D printed in a much smaller scale than this one. Kind of like a miniature scale. But for this Leviathan, it's printed in its 1:35 scale, so it's a much more bigger model. As for the base here or the diorama, it's from Crafty. If you have not seen my video, I did a video, kind of an unboxing video for them about a year ago now, I think. It's also 3D printed and it's actually a hanger base for Gunpla. But since I feel like it works well with the Leviathan, I ended up using it. It's actually two different hanger bases that I ended up putting together to make it work and to fit the Leviathan. So basically, I will be putting all of the links down below for all of the videos, all of the websites that I'm mentioning in this video, so you can check those out. And yeah, basically the painting for this is just airbrush and hand painting, and I did not really do a really intricate and detailed painting because my plan for this model is to actually weather it super weathered, kind of like a really abandoned old looking mecha. So yeah, the focus on this video is weathering with HIRO Paints. So HIRO Paints, if you're not familiar with them, is a local Philippine brand that has very affordable and good quality paints, and they also have a wet palette and a bunch of other weathering paints, pigments, and stuff like that. And yeah, I've had a couple of videos, tutorial videos using HIRO Paints, but I've never really done a weathering video using them. So I figured with this mecha, I can show you guys what paints and kind of like what techniques you can do with HIRO Paints. So like I said earlier, I will also put the link down below for the Shopee page and the Facebook page of HIRO Paints down on the description box. So yeah, for the first step in weathering, not just with HIRO Paints, with any type of paints, but the very first step in weathering your Gunpla, your mecha, any of your model is to add the paint chipping. So weathering is making your model look very weathered, right? So the first step is to add some paint chipping. For HIRO Paints, I ended up using Midnight Gray. It's a really nice color and shade of gray that I think work really well with yellow, with this model right here. They have a bunch of really nice gray shades that you can check out on their Shopee page. So yeah, with paint chipping, I always like to use two techniques, which is using a sponge to dab on the paint onto the model. This replicates kind of like that uneven, splotchy looking kind of chipping. And then the next technique is using a paintbrush. I use a paintbrush to replicate those streaking, those like bigger areas of chipping. So combining those two helps me get a more realistic and more nice looking paint chipping. So aside from that, I also use another gray color, kind of just like to add variety and depth to the chipping itself. And then aside from adding the paint chipping in gray paint, I also use Wenji. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's kind of like a reddish rust colored paint that replicates rust paint chipping. So that also adds another depth and variety to your paint chipping. So like with the gray paints, I did that with the sponge and with the brush, but I did it in a much smaller amount than the gray paints. So after that, it's time for the rust texture. As you can see here, the first thing that I did was apply the rust texture by itself, but I ended up mixing it with a little bit of pigments by HIRO Paints again. just to add a little bit of texture and make it look a lot more rusty, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I ended up liking the result of the rust texture with the added pigment. So I basically went over all of the rust textures again to kind of add that texture more. And then after that, I ended up using the shade Crescent Yellow. It looks like light rust wash of Vallejo. This is to blend the rust texture into the model itself. So you dab it or you apply it onto the lower area of the rust texture, and then you blend it in with a bit of water. So some people might be wondering why you need to blend your washes, and it's because when washes are drying or when it dries, it leaves coffee stains or tea stains, and that's not really a good look on your model. It looks very just not very realistic to have a coffee stain. So I really recommend blending it. It's not that hard. You really just have to, you apply it with the brush, then you rinse off your brush quickly, and then just blend it in with your damp brush, and that's about it. And then finally, the next step is I'm using this weathering pencil because I'm really bad at streaking. I can't make a straight line with a brush. So I found this and I haven't really used it a lot, but it helps you make really nice and really easy streaking effects on your model. And it comes in a bunch of colors. I'm using here kind of like a brown rusty color to add the streaking, and then I'm just blending it in with the damp cotton buds. So yeah, that's about it for the weathering. But actually I ended up using two shades of HIRO, Ancient Earth and Beastly Green. I combined two of these to kind of make like a dirty green kind of grime looking paint or shade, and then I simply stippled it on top of, like, basically all over the model itself, just to add texture again and, you know, add some discoloration to the mecha. But usually I don't do this a lot, mostly on buildings, not really on the mecha itself. But for this one, the Leviathan, it's a pretty big model, so it works well. But yeah, that's the last step in weathering. So that's about it for today's video. I hope you like this model. Do check out Chimeric Collective. I will put all the links down below. And I hope you learned something new about weathering. I will be posting a lot more videos, a more in-depth video about weathering soon, so do subscribe if you haven't already. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye!